Ever needed to clean up some HTML content, grab the text between a tag, or find all of the email addresses in a document? Well, regular expressions are here to the rescue. You're watching Web Snacks, and I'm John Harbison. Regular expressions, or sometimes called regex, is a sequence of characters used to pattern match. It is commonly used in many programming languages like Perl, PHP, JavaScript, Ruby, and many others, but today we're going to use them in a text editor. I will be using Sublime Text for my examples. You might ask yourself, why do I want to use regular expressions? Well, it's simply because it saves you time. Sure, you could go through a document and click, copy, and edit, but it is so much simpler to just have the computer work for you. Instead of manually copying email addresses in a document, you could grab all of them at once. Instead of formatting the document to insert line breaks between paragraph tags, you can grab all of them programmatically. Just create the pattern and let the computer work for you. To really understand regex, you need to understand the syntax. But today, I'm just going to give you some very simple pattern matches that are extremely useful. And we'll use Sublime Text to see them in real time. So for example, I've got a simple HTML document that has all of the lines joined. You might see some nasty code like this if you open someone else's code, or a site has been minified to eliminate the white space. As you can see, it would be very hard to read. You may need to edit it, so to make it a little bit more human readable could really be a time saver. So I've opened the document in Sublime Text. And Sublime Text is a free editor that you can download. I hit Command F on the Mac, and if you're on a Windows machine, you would just use Control F, and that will open the Find dialog. On the left of the Find bar, there are some buttons that I need to select. The first button being the period asterisk button. This means that we're going to be searching with regular expressions. The next two buttons that I need to select are the wrap button, which allows me to search the entire document at once instead of just searching below or above the cursor. And the last button I need to turn on is the highlight matches button, which is directly to the left of the search box. When this is activated, there will be boxes surrounding all of our matched instances, and this will let you know that your regular expressions are working. The first thing I want to do is split my paragraphs of content. In the search field, I will type the closing paragraph tag less than / p for greater than. As I type in the paragraph tag, you'll see that all of them become highlighted. I'll then hit the Find All button, which will select all instances of the closing paragraph tag. Hit the forward arrow on the keyboard, which will then move the cursor to the end of the select tags. Hit Enter twice to insert your line breaks in between the paragraphs. And there you have it. That wall of text is much more readable. We're going to continue making the markup readable by putting all of the list items on separate lines. Command F to pull up the Find dialog, then type in the ending list item tag, which is less than / li greater than. Click Find All, then hit the forward arrow, then Enter. Just like we did with the paragraphs, now all of the list items will be much easier to read. We can then finish up by moving to the opening unordered list tags and moving them to their own lines as well. Also in Sublime Text, you can select multiple lines and hit the Tab key to indent those lines. For these two examples, all we did was a straight up tag match. Regex will pattern match anything you type. There are some scenarios where you might have to add slashes to get them to match, but for the most part, if you type it in, it will match it. For this reason, you've probably already used a regular expression matching system in the past and you didn't even know it. But that's not where the real power is. Let's do something a little bit more complicated. What if we wanted to make a collection of links? For this, I'm going to select all of the anchor tags, complete with their linked content, and put them all in a list at the bottom of the page. Let's start by adding a header. I'll add an H1 tag and name it All Links. Close that tag, and now it's time to actually select all of our links. So if I started writing my expression, I know that I would put the beginning of the tag, and I know that I would put the closing. But how do we get all that stuff in the middle? We're going to use what's called a wildcard character, and that character is actually just a period. If you're watching the screen and you typed in the beginning of the anchor tag, you would see that all of the beginning of the links are selected. And when we put in the period, it will then grab that empty space after the A. The period wildcard only does one character at a time. So the next thing that we have to do is actually make it a greedy expression. And what we're going to do that is add a plus symbol. If you're typing along with me, you'll see that all of the text is now selected. What we need now to do is to stop its selection at the close of the anchor tag. I will say that this isn't a foolproof regex pattern. If your code had a closing anchor tag that is just chilling out in your content and no start, then your pattern would actually match all the content regardless of the first closing anchor tag. To fix this pattern, you need to add a question mark. This is called a lazy quantifier. By adding the question mark before your final closing anchor tag, the expression now says, hey, I'm going to find everything until you get to this first closing anchor tag, and then I'm going to stop. Your script is lazy, and it doesn't want to select anymore. So your final expression will look like this. Less than A, period, plus, question mark, and then the closing anchor tag. Hit the find all and then Command C to copy them, and then put your cursor at the bottom under the header and just paste. Easy. Using the same technique, you could also grab all of the text in the paragraph tags. That expression would look like less than P, period, plus, question mark, and then the close of the paragraph. And that would select all of the paragraphs. To grab all of the list items would be less than LI, period, plus, question mark, and then the close of that list item. As you might have noticed in the paragraph and the list item example, it even grabbed the tags. If you didn't want to grab the tags, you would need to make an expression using the look ahead and look behind special groups. When you group an expression, you put parentheses around that group. The first special group we'll look at is the look ahead group. It basically means, hey, match this pattern and then place my cursor there. The positive look ahead pattern looks like this. Parentheses, question mark, less than, equals, then the pattern, and then the closing parentheses. So for a paragraph tag, you'd have parentheses, question mark, less than, equals, and then a paragraph tag, and then a closing parentheses. So if you type that into Sublime Text, you'll see that absolutely nothing happened. That is because that group just matches the case, and we're actually using this to not select the tags. What we want it to do is find everything after that, and in order to do that, we need to use a greedy quantifier and add that to our expression. Parentheses, question mark, less than, equals, and then the paragraph tag, then close that parentheses, then a period and a plus. Now we have Sublime Text grabbing everything after our opening paragraph tags. To have it stop matching before the closing tag requires us to use a look behind special group. It looks like this. Parentheses, question mark, equals, pattern, and then close that parentheses. For our look behind group with the closing paragraph tag, it would actually look like this. Parentheses, question mark, equals, and then the closing paragraph tag, and then parentheses. As you can see, if you're using Sublime Text right now, you'll see the matching actually stop at the closing tag. You've just grabbed everything between those tags. So far, all of the techniques that we've seen are extremely useful, and you could use them for many different cases. The last expression I will show you is to match email addresses. It's a fairly complex but a common scenario. Imagine you need to grab all of the email addresses in a document. You could actually use regular expressions to grab all of them. So here's what the expression looks like to grab all of the emails. And this is what we're going to be using. This is a crazy expression, but I'll talk you through it. When you use square brackets in regex, you're actually declaring a character set. This could be a straight set of characters that you might want to grab, like 1, 2, 3, which would grab all of the instances of 1, 2, or 3. If you add the hyphen, then that set becomes a range, so 0 to 9 will match any numbers between 0 and 9, which is all numbers. The same goes for letters. A to Z would give you all lowercase letters, if they were lowercase. So looking at the first part of our expression, you'll see lowercase a to z, uppercase a to z, and 0 to 9. So what that's going to match are all lower and uppercase letters and all numbers 0 to 9. So even though it is a bit cryptic, it does make sense. You might be wondering why we wouldn't just use a wildcard period character. Well, that's because we want to validate the email addresses somewhat. The underscore, hyphen, and period are all characters that occur in email addresses. The hyphen and the period have backslashes in front of them so that those special characters are only treated as characters and not some kind of special regex character like a wildcard character or a range character. So going back to the expression, you'll see that the plus symbol, which is the greedy quantifier, meaning that it's going to look for those characters over and over until it reaches the @ symbol. This is how we're going to match an email address. Our final regex expression for an email is actually just 3 groups with special characters in between. It just is group 1, an @ symbol, group 2, a period, and then the final group. This will select most email addresses. So will it grab all email addresses? Well, no, that's because there's all kinds of crazy email addresses out there. If you search for an email validating regex expression, it's huge and complicated. But this expression will work for most cases. So we can use our expression to grab all of the emails in our HTML file and then paste them at the bottom. Just Command F, paste in or type the expression and hit Find All. Command C to copy them, place your cursor, and paste. Voila! All your email addresses from the document in one list. As you can see, regular expressions are awesome and powerful, and you've seen what they can do in a simple text editor. Now imagine what you could do if you started using them in programming. They're like magic. If you have any questions or scenarios you think that regex expressions could work for, be sure to type them in the comments below or ask me on Twitter or websnacks.net. Perhaps I'll cover them in a future episode. Don't forget to rate, comment, and subscribe. I am John Harbison, and you've been watching Web Snacks.